Frobisher.
Maiden speech, Blair McDougall.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And as I'm being welcomed to my place, can I welcome you to your place and congratulate you. Can I also congratulate the member for Glasgow North. He spoke about the lack of trust in politics, and I think an eloquent speech like that and the service he will give to his community will go a long way to help repair that. And can I say how wonderful it is to see you as one of many, to see the Honourable Gentleman rather, as one of many Labour MPs from that great city. Can I say to the member for Angus and Perthshire Glens that I don't wish to nauseate him, but my speech is going to be about public duty. So apologies for that. Yesterday evening, after the statement by the Chancellor and the discussion afterwards about responsibility and duty, and about the legacy that people leave within this chamber, I was standing on the banks of the river, watching the river go by, as it has done for countless generations. And I thought of everyone who had stood on those banks before, about the choices they had made, the decisions they'd made, and how those choices had impacted on the lives of everyone who followed them. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, the first and most important duty, and the duty that this bill seeks to enshrine, is taking responsible decisions that will ensure a richer life for those who follow us, for our children and our grandchildren. And the failure of our age is that we departed from that purpose. We have departed from that purpose, and in doing so have left people trapped in short-term lives. Lives without the opportunity to learn for the future, lives without a permanent home, lives of short-term precarious work. A generation has been handed down falling life expectancy, a poisoned environment, and a legacy of debt. Now, time and generations flow, and they can change for the better or for the worse. And that changes as a result of political decisions, and it also happens as a result of personal decisions. And I'll talk about that aspect a little later in my speech. But the hard decisions that we make today are what create a better tomorrow. And as political leaders, for me, this bill is about us taking the kind of decisions that my constituents make every single day. And passing this bill will be a promissory note that this new Parliament will do better, and that this new Labour government will reclaim the legacy and the future of an abandoned generation. And Madam Deputy Speaker, the story of intergenerational opportunity is the story of my constituency of East Renfrewshire. And I'm going to be very brave, and I'm not going to claim that my constituency is the most beautiful constituency. Partly because over the last couple of weeks listening to other honourable members, I'm quite happy for that title to rest until the next Maiden speakers perhaps stand up. And you certainly can find natural beauty in East Renfrewshire if you walk through Greenbank Gardens, or you stroll through Rooken Glen, or you take a hike up the top of the Neilston Pad. But the extraordinary thing about my constituency isn't the place, it's the people. Because generation after generation have moved to East Renfrewshire because it offers hope for the next generation and a better life for their children. First they came for the mills, the works and the quarries. They came to Neilston, to Busby, to Giffnock and to Thornley Bank. In Barrhead they came in great numbers for a job at the old Shanks Works, making the toilets for the Titanic, for royalty, and also, Madam Deputy Speaker, the toilets for this place. I must admit there is some jealousy for me when I hear other honourable members talk about the pride they feel when Mr Speaker has chosen whisky that members sip on, or the shortbread for the canteen that members snack on, or the member for Inverclyde in West Renfrewshire talking about the seats that we sit on coming from his constituency. I don't want to think about what honourable members do on my constituency's most significant product, but I hope the relief it provides enhances the quality of debate in the chamber. But those industrial workers were followed south out of Glasgow by the Irish and the Jewish communities. then by Muslim families, and in turn by Hindus and Sikhs. And more recently, we've been joined by Ukrainians and Hong Kongers who are not just looking for opportunity, but looking for liberty. Because East Renfrewshire is somewhere where people aspire to live. Parents sacrifice and strive to make the dream of living there real, driven on by the love of their families. Because in East Renfrewshire, Madam Deputy Speaker, we have extraordinary schools, the best schools in Scotland, with remarkable teachers who open wide the future for our children. And I want to make special mention of the remarkable Isabel Mayer School, where every child with additional special needs is valued and celebrated. But sacrificing and striving for the next generation doesn't stop at the school gates in my constituency. It goes far beyond that. Volunteers at Nellie Boxes, the Include Me Too Club, or the Back to School Bank work to ensure that disadvantage or disability are no barriers to a childhood of opportunity, discovery and fun. St Cadoc's football team is typical of the sports clubs who offer our kids the confidence and camaraderie that comes with competition. Started in 1987 by the school Janny, it now has thousands of kids playing football. But I could have just as easily told the story of Giffnock Soccer Centre, Barhead Youth Football Club, Neilston Wasps, GHA or Whitecraigs Rugby Club, or East Wren Cricket Club. I could go on, and as it's my maiden speech, I will. Harlequin Youth Theatre gives kids the thrill of performance, and our flourishing Girl Guides, Scouts, Boys and Girls Brigade, and our Maccabee offer young people adventure and a taste of leadership. East Renfrewshire is, to borrow a phrase from something else, a constituency of joiners. That's a wonderful thing, unless you happen to be their Member of Parliament. I know from speaking to my predecessors that East Renfrewshire is not always the easiest place in the world to represent. 3 different honourable members from 3 different parties have won and lost my constituency in the last decade. My immediate predecessor, Kirsten Oswald, deserves enormous praise for the service she gave to the constituency, which is typified by the fact that when she lost the constituency at one general election, she came back and fought again and won. I hope I should say that is not something which is repeated, but it's typical of how much she loved this constituency. Both she and Paul Masterton, my Conservative predecessor, have been a source of constant support and advice, and I thank them for that. I also want to make special tribute to the former honourable friend, but now just my friend, Jim Murphy, who served the constituency for 18 years. I know from my time knocking doors in the election how fondly he was remembered by the constituency, and it's been wonderful to talk to more long-standing honourable members to find out that he's still as fondly remembered in this place. Madam Deputy Speaker, prior to the election, I spent most of the last decade working with Democrats against dictators around the world. But not all of my predecessors had such a frosty relationship with authoritarians. In 1941, Rudolf Hess bailed out of his Messerschmitt over the fields outside of Eaglesham in my constituency and parachuted to the ground. The Deputy Führer of the Nazi Party was seeking to negotiate with Douglas Hamilton, a former Member of Parliament from East Renfrewshire, who Hess believed, perhaps unfairly, to be a Nazi sympathiser. Hess was swiftly captured by a local farmer at Pitchfork and then taken to Busby Scout Hall, apparently by an inebriated member of the National Guard at Pistol Point, and then taken to the Tower of London along the river that flows outside of here. And time may have passed, but I can tell you my constituents, informed by events in Ukraine and elsewhere, still have as little tolerance for dictators as they did back in the 1940s. Madam Deputy Speaker, my argument today has been that we should think more long-term in this House, but I make it in the knowledge that my own place here will only ever be temporary. And I'll close by saying why I feel that so acutely. My roots are in East Renfrewshire, where I was born and brought up, but my ancestors hail much closer to this chamber. My grandfather was born across the river in Lambeth. He was one of 7 children scattered to different orphanages and foster homes when his parents died. He went to his grave believing that his mother had been taken by consumption, and then his father had succumbed to old wounds from the Great War. But that story was a lie. It was a lie told to a boy to protect him from a horrible truth that was discovered when we researched our family tree. The truth was that my great-grandfather, overwhelmed by grief and overcome by poverty, decided that his children would have a better future without him, that their life would be better if he ended his. So he walked to Lambeth Pier and he threw himself into the freezing water that runs past this Parliament. As the once famous Newton Mearns poet Robert Pollock wrote, "Sorrows remembered sweeten present joy." Because today, if you stand on that place where my great-grandfather's story ended, you can look across to the river where his great-grandson just gave his maiden speech as a Member of Parliament, watched from the gallery by his own children. However long I serve on the banks of this river, I will always have an eye on the water flying by and my mind on the responsibility we have to our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
No doubt it'll do